Hello and welcome to this OASPA webinar. We're going to start in just a small while. We're just waiting while we let participants in. Please feel free to say hello in the chat if you like, and let us know where you're joining us from. And we'll give it another minute. Oh, sorry. We'll give it another moment. Oh. Apologies, I had the feedback there on my phone. We'll give it another minute or 30 seconds before we start. We have 120 of you here at the moment with numbers going up. So please do feel free to welcome, say hello in the chat and let us know where you're joining from. We know we have registrants from all over the world. We had quite a number of registrants, so I'll hand over in just a moment to our chair today. Just watching the numbers go up while we wait for everybody else to join. If you've just joined us, welcome to this OASPA webinar on rethinking innovative open scholarly outputs. Again, do tell us who you are and where you're joining from while we let just a few more people join in. And remember, by joining this OASPA webinar that you are agreeing to our participant agreement, which you can find on our website. And I think there's a link also on the screen to that. We're up to 100 and almost 660 of you are here now. So you can see the participant agreement in the chat, and we'll start in just a few seconds, I think, while people continue to join. Okay, I'm going to hand over now to our chair today, Magdalena, who is going to kick off the webinar and let us know what we can expect for the next hour. Thank you. Over to you, Magdalena.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Benny, for the introduction. I hope you all hear me well. If something goes wrong and you can't hear me, I will be very grateful for letting me know as soon as that happens. Okay, so once again, welcome to the OASPA webinar, Rethinking Innovative Scholarly Outputs. And thank you all for taking your time to join us, especially during these hot summer days that we all experience right now. To be honest, I'm truly impressed by the number of registrants, 612 in total. But for those of you who couldn't join live, perhaps due to defeat that defeated you, the recording will be available to watch later on the OASPA website. So I'd also like to extend my thanks to OASPA for inviting me to chair this session, which is both a great pleasure and an honor. And finally, a warm thank you to all OASPA sponsors whose support makes it possible for us to meet and have those events free and accessible to everyone. So today we have three guest speakers who will share with us practical applications of innovative scholarly outputs from the perspective of a researcher, publisher, and editor. We will discuss the challenges they face in collaborating with authors and academic authorities, and also reflect on what the publishing system needs from academia to enable innovative outputs to reach their full potential. But before we get to the discussion and to the presentations, firstly, let's stop for a minute and ask ourselves, what are those innovative research scholarly outputs? Surely every one of us has encountered at least one of those. So before we kick off, I'd like to invite you to share via chat some examples from your fields, from your countries. I know that there are participants who registered there from 450 different organizations and 60 countries, which means that we can count on a diverse collection of this type of examples, innovative formats of any kind. And I will be especially grateful for you guys if you do that, because I used to, with my colleague, we used to collect these examples and share them via a website that we created. But it's been a couple of years when we when we actually stopped doing that, and I hope we will get back to this hobby of ours thanks to this webinar. So just a few sentences of introduction so that we all are on the same page regarding the innovative research outputs, which in general are a collection of different formats. So among them, there are digital interactive monographs, living books, data visualizations, data-driven applications, blog posts, programming code, podcasts, videos, and more. Usually what they have in common is that they are not considered as valuable in terms of academic metrics as traditional paper or a monograph. So depending on rules and policies, some of them get some credit, whereas some literally get none. So while we know that the digital era has opened up exciting opportunities for experimentation with diverse publishing, these specific formats, despite their growing popularity and their natural alignment with open access principles, which is very important for all of us and our aspirants especially, they face significant challenges in terms of visibility, citability, evaluation. So one reason, in my opinion, one reason for this challenge is the difficulty in understanding that innovation as is a set of definable and accessible practices. So the term innovation is often used as a buzzword across diverse and sometimes unrelated contexts, and it obscures its core meaning, that it's basically about novelty and usefulness with the potential to improve existing practices. But are digital scholarly outputs always innovative? So intuitively, we know that the answer is that not necessarily. However, without experimentation with those formats, scholarly communication today would be less likely to evolve and remain engaging for both authors and readers. So since these outputs do exist and they are evolving all the time, they deserve also our attention and appreciation, along with the development of new methods for evaluating them. So in other words, to recognize novel formats, this understanding of innovation would need operationalization in research assessment systems. And during today's webinar, we will focus specifically on two types of innovative research outputs: digital monographs and digital papers that incorporate elements beyond traditional narrative text. These formats are often referred to as born digital, extended monographs, and their primary argument is that they cannot be reduced to a printed book or PDF without losing value, such as research rationale or justification of fundings. So right now, we will begin with our discussion, starting from presentation by our guest speakers. And then after the presentations, we will have a 30 to 35 minutes discussion. Firstly, we will speak to our guests, and then we will have 10 minutes of open discussion, open to all of you. But before that, if you have specific question to our speakers while they speak, please use the Q&A feature to help us manage the discussion more effectively. Okay, so first I would like to invite Professor Ioana Galleron from Sorbonne University and a chair of the European Network for Research Evaluation in the Social Sciences and the Humanities, who will bring us some context to our discussion on innovative research outputs. Ioana, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I hope you hear me well, because I understood that you had some problems with hearing Magdalena while she was speaking. I'm not seeing the chat anymore, so please feel free to interrupt me if somebody experiences difficulties in hearing what I have to say. Thank you for the introduction. I would also like to point out that in addition to the fact of having been the chair of a cost action, I am currently involved in a consortium in France dedicated to the impact of artificial intelligence over the textual reading, over the exploration of literary text, and not only literary text. So I am speaking out of that perspective too, but I have tried for the beginning to give a larger perspective, because indeed The first type of innovative formats are the digital outputs, and digital books have been mentioned. Probably we should spend some time in discussing digital editions, which are among all mostly those that cannot be printed without a significant loss of contents. But I would like also to underline the controlled vocabularies. And I have put on the screen short image of one of these controlled vocabularies. In France, we tend to use very much a tool which is called OpenTeso, and it gathers already more than 300 controlled vocabularies, because the sharing the information will not be done, especially in social sciences and humanities, without getting in control about how we speak about the texts, how we speak about the resources we are building. Of course, there are RDF description and everything, but what we put into those RDF descriptions, what types of keywords we are using, there we need control vocabularies. And control vocabularies are typically an innovative format, but which is not taken into account in the evaluation of the research of a single researcher or of an institution, unless it is, so to speak, transformed into a paper or transformed into another form of printed publication. But of course, this printed publication is just to say, hey, pay attention, this exists. But in fact, the real added value in terms of scientific contribution is the vocabulary itself, which is not translatable really to a paper. And also there are websites, we can get back to that later. I wanted to have also a larger perspective, because my natural tendency is indeed to speak about digital outputs. But I think that the moment we are at is the moment where we need to think about, don't we publish too much? And don't we sometimes write too much, speak too much, when what we really bring really new is much shortened? And I know about at least two possibilities explored, two ways explored in recent years about nano publications and logist publications. In both cases, the digital technology is important for this kind of publications to exist. The idea being that a full paper could be reduced to a logical diagram, as that I have put on the right of the screen. I will not enter into details. You have the DOI of the publication if you want to learn more about this publication. But the idea behind this kind of publication is that when you just bring a short novelty, put it in a short format, and don't build an entire paper around it, which actually serves the main purpose of saying, I have read everything that has to be read on the subject. I have done a lot of things in terms of methodology, and this is what I bring to the field. I mean, sometimes it's like the core that we should put forward, and probably as scholars, we will be able to be more aware of what is really new if we don't have to read masses and masses of papers, but just what's really new in that paper. Of course, I will not be spending a lot of time on this. In terms of public dissemination of research, this is to me the third major change that happens in scholarly communication. We have become more innovative, more creative in terms of public dissemination of research. And I have just put an example of draw your research exercise that has been done with the doctoral students in the Sorbonne Nouvelle University. They have been absolutely happy to engage into it, but also they all know that this kind of research, draw research, will not help them for actually getting a position in academia, because what it is still expected is them writing a paper, writing books, writing these kind of things. So I have also been asked when we prepared this webinar, what are the advantages and the disadvantages of the innovative digital formats and innovative formats in general. I think that the advantages are obvious. They correspond to the research conducted. There is no point in trying to create a book or a paper if actually what I am doing is something digital, which has to live in the digital world. It also answered to real needs, and I tried to underline that when I talked about the controlled vocabularies and ontologies and other things like that that we are developing in the digital humanities sphere. But they have also obvious disadvantages. The main of them is that in many cases, they're obsolete. They will be obsolete. We know that in 30 years' time, most of the technology we are using now will not be there anymore. So how are we making sure that what we are producing will resist this barrier, which is not very far away, 30 years? We have all books in our libraries. We have books that have been printed more than 30 years ago, while the digital sphere might disappear in 30 years or even faster. The second problem is that whatever we say for the digital editions, for the controlled vocabularies, for the nano publication, whatever I have been speaking before, the peer review circuit is still very poorly organized. And as a consequence, it does not have institutional recognition. For digital editions, for instance, in France, we don't have real publishing houses. Some publishing houses experiment with digital books, but with digital editions. But as I said, because of the obsolescence of the material side of the digital publication, they cannot commit on the fact that they will ensure a long time preservations, and libraries don't commit, at least National Library of France cannot commit right now to the fact that some digital edition that have been done with public money, costed a lot of public money, will still be there in a certain number of years. I stop here because I have already spoke more than I have been indicated, so feel free to ask any questions.
Using the Q&A, if possible.
Using the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna, for this introduction to variety of digital outputs, digital editions, but also controlled vocabularies. These are all the outputs that we are today discussing, although to a lesser extent than the two that I've mentioned. And right now, I'd like to invite Allison Levy, Director of Brown University Digital Publications, and also a project director for Bonn Digital Scholarly Publishing, Resources and Roadmaps. So I wanted also to say that Allison has a background in history, and just like our next speaker, Frédéric Clavert. And it is worth noting that history and the humanities are still disciplines in which monograph publishing plays a particularly significant role, both in terms of researcher recognition and the prestige of publishing houses. So historical digital monographs are among my favorites, as they offer rich opportunities for authors to experiment, and they are quite recognized. So this is a field where I hope from which I hope we will learn how beautiful and interesting this content might be. Allison, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Magdalena. I hope everyone can see my slide deck and hear me okay. Just please indicate if not. I'm delighted to be here and to be on this panel to think about innovative scholarly output, how we are rethinking that in our various ways at our various institutions. So I am Allison Levy. I am the director of Brown University Digital Publications, and I'm going to tell you all about our program, which is based in the library. Brown University is in Providence, Rhode Island in the United States. We are a library-based program. We are not a university press. We don't think of ourselves as publishers, but more so as producers of born digital multimodal monographs. The program started 10 years ago with a generous grant from the Mellon Foundation. We've also received grants from the National Endowment for the Humanities and the Institute of Museum and Library Services. Our program has also been recognized for its innovative practice and its commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion with an Excellence Award for Innovation from Brown University. And also last month, we received an EPIC Award issued by the Society for Scholarly Publishing for our work to support under-resourced and underrepresented scholarly voices. There we go. And now let me give you an overview of our portfolio, our core work that we do. We primarily support faculty with digital publications across the humanities and the humanistic social sciences. So to date, we have 3 publications out. These are all open access. They are all exclusively digital, so there's not a print component. And I'm going to highlight one of those, our first publication, Furnace and Fugue, in just a moment. But let me also point out Shadow Plays, published by Stanford University Press, and A New Vision for Islamic Pasts and Futures, published by the MIT Press. As I mentioned, these are all open access titles, and so they have had global reach in a relatively short amount of time. And I'm very proud to say that our first 3 publications have all received national or international prizes. And I just highlight some of those awards on this screen. And now let me give you a little bit more information about our practice. I'll again use Furnace and Fugue as the case study. This is a multi-authored work. It is a digital edition of a 17th century alchemical emblem book, as well as, a set of 8 interdisciplinary essays that contextualize that 17th century edition by a professor of history at Brown, Tara Numedal, and an independent scholar based in New York, Donna Belak. It was published by University of Virginia Press in 2020 in the Studies in Early Modern German History book series. It also has been excerpted on Project Muse. It won the 2022 Roy Rosenzweig Prize for Creativity in Digital History from the American Historical Association. It has been viewed by 31,000 unique users from 170 countries since publication. If this had been printed and released by Virginia as a print book, the print run would have been in the low hundreds. So I think that the numbers here indicate the incredible global reach, as well as the reach to non-specialist audiences. It has been reviewed, and I list 4 of the most recent reviews that have paid attention to Atalantafugians of Furnace and Fugue. So we're really pleased to see that kind of activity, which is very important. Also, Professor Numedal was an associate professor when we started this project, and Furnace and Fugue was part of her promotion dossier, promotion to full professor. So we are seeing recognition for this work for our faculty at Brown University, and that work is guided by the Dean of the Faculty. I should also just underscore that the work is peer-reviewed by our university press partners. We have at least a dozen other works that are currently in development, and I highlight just a few here. Grounds for Reclamation on the left. This project is under contract already with Fordham University Press. It will be forthcoming next year. The Sensory Monastery is entering peer review with Penn State University Press. And Poet Saga Wachika, our first fully bilingual Japanese and English publication is entering peer review with Cornell. So we have a variety of press partners. I should also say that we are platform agnostic. The very tight integration of form and content is a signature of Brown's output. But we select the platform, we assemble the design team, and we choose the press partner based on the needs of the project. In terms of the sort of general division of labor, what Brown does and what our press partner does, we start with acquisitions on our own campus because this work is generated by Brown faculty. We offer very robust support to our faculty. We don't expect them to come in with a digital skill set. We handle the complete design and development of the project from start to finish. We also host the project on a university server, and we handle the preservation and the archiving of the work. And these are considerations that begin on day one, so that accessibility and preservation are not afterthoughts for us, but they are integral to the very earliest steps. We look to our press partners to manage the peer review, to handle the copy editing, and of course, discoverability. But even those elements of the process are generally shared. It is deeply collaborative work. It's multi-year work, but I'd say no longer than bringing out a print monograph. Very collaborative and very much still in the realm of experimentation. I want to, again, underscore the people part of this. We are a small team. Brown University Digital Publications consists of 4 staff members, including myself, all of us based in the library, but we also work with an external design and development team and freelance project managers, depending upon capacity on campus and expertise needed for a particular project. These are faculty-led projects. We have an editorial board at Brown. We have a formal intake process, again, working across disciplines, and the authors are pivotal to this work. They are involved in all of the meetings, all of the decision making. They are very much a part of the team while their project is being developed. And again, we are experimenting. We are looking for projects that present unique challenges because we are always trying to achieve in the digital form what is not possible in print. So all of the work is highly interactive, it's dynamic with multimedia assets. I also want to, again, just repeat that we have the support of the Dean of the Faculty at Brown University, and so that ensures that as director of the program, I'm fully aware of any disciplinary or career decisions that have to be made around the timing of bringing out this work and making sure that faculty, especially junior faculty or early career faculty, are getting all of the support, not only from the library, but at the departmental level to take on a project like this. So in addition to the press partners that we bring on board for the individual titles, we also have engaged in some long-term commitments with university presses. We brought out a book series with the MIT Press entitled On Seeing. We've now published 2 works. This is another experiment. This is actually a hybrid model. MIT is producing a paperback at an affordable cost. We are producing the open access digital edition. And so this is a very exciting endeavor that we are embarking on, again, to support underrepresented voices and perspectives. And this series is devoted to visual literacy. The digital edition also includes a community engagement toolkit, which is tailored to each individual title, and that's something that's developed by the Brown team. New collaboration, I'm pleased to announce, and this one with another grant from the Mellon Foundation. will enable Brown University Digital Publications and the University of Guam Press to collaborate on a pilot project on indigenous navigation. And this is a way of helping the University of Guam Press to build up the infrastructure for digital publishing. We are also committed to working with scholars beyond our own campus wherever possible. And certainly we can do that through the MIT book series and of course with the Guam collaboration. We also believe very strongly in training the next generation and supporting scholars who may not have the capacity or the infrastructure at their own institutions. So we have twice run a summer institute funded by the National Endowment for the Humanities. Each summer, this has brought 15 scholars from under-resourced institutions across the United States to Brown, and we have worked with them to train them to advance their digital publication projects. The majority of these scholars teach at historically Black colleges and universities and other minority-serving institutions. For this activity, we received the EPIC Award, so we're very proud of that accomplishment. And from the NEH Institute, we learned that really scholars need support over the full life cycle of a digital publication project. And so thank you to a grant from the Institute of Museum and Library Services, we are working to train librarians at HBCUs to develop digital content development skills to work with authors on their own campus. And we are about almost 2 years through a 3-year training program there. This is my final slide in just trying to answer the bigger question that was posed to all of us about the advantages and disadvantages of doing this kind of work. I think the advantages are clear. Disadvantages, it's really hard for me to point to those. I'd rather say some challenges, and those are around sustainability and scalability. But again, we are a small program. We think we do our best, most creative and innovative work as a small team. So we also believe very strongly in the concept of scaling small. And if these publications can send forth to the broader community models that can be replicated, then that is a great success for us. So I will stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Allison. And now the floor is for Frédéric, who will present the Journal of Digital History. Frédéric, we don't have that much time, but if you could squeeze it to those 7 minutes that we agreed to, that would be great. That we would have some time for those disadvantages and advantages, as well as for discussion over evaluation methods. Thank you.
I will try to, yes. Okay, so thank you for the invitation and for organizing this panel, very interesting panel. So the Journal of Digital History is not a book, it's a journal. It's about articles. It's a joint venture between the C²DH at the University of Luxembourg and the Gruyter Brill. It's mostly developed in-house with some external services, and the code is available. It's open source, of course, the code, but it's also open access, and which is, I think, the only case for the Gruyter Journal. There's no fee for authors. What did we want to do? The idea was to go back to an article by Danton published in the New York Review, if I remember well, in 1999, where he imagines books in the age of the internet with several layers. He described 6 layers. We only kept 3 and 4 articles. And what we published are multi-layered articles made of a narration layer, an hermeneutic layer, and a data and code and data layer. So it's really for data-driven research. Code is not mandatory, but it's usually one of our strong points, because I will try to show you, but you can run the code within the article. The narration layer, if I can describe it fastly, is basically the usual article, the regular article that you send to print journals. The hermeneutic layer is about methods, the digital tools you used, and why you wrote this piece of code, why you needed to write code, and with a critical point of view. And then the data encode layer speaks for itself. It's mostly the code. You will not have access directly to the data because the data is not always open, because in contemporary history it would not be possible, but when you can access it, it's available. And the code written by authors is a way to interact with the data, basically. So let's take one example. So that's an article. We had several designs for the article pages. That's the latest version of our design. It's still in beta, but for this article, it was necessary. Otherwise, the article would have been hard to read for users. Just trying to see my time. And as you can see there, so you will basically see first narrative layer. You will be able to see the code. You will be able to run the code. It's going to be a bit too long. I don't think I can run it directly. You have also the possibility to ask a language model that is not too big to explain the code, so in a different way that the authors explained it. And it's practical to know some elements that the author will not explain because they are quite obvious in a way. And you will have the hermeneutics layer that basically created in this example, but basically explains how this histogram was created and why it was interesting to create it. So you can, of course, theoretically read only the narrative layer if you wish. You can focus on the hermeneutics layer if you wish. You can look at the code. In the end, if you quote the article, you can reuse the code. Usually it's in the articles are in Creative Commons and the code is open. Basically, to achieve this, and that's maybe my contribution to the disadvantages of that kind of publication, we ask a lot to authors. We ask a lot to authors because authors cannot use a software like Microsoft Word, because it's basically the standard in publication in humanities. They will have to use code notebooks. And it implies that they install a very specific writing environment. Once it is installed, it's okay. It's not very complex to use, but the installation can be a bit tough. We ask a lot to authors because they need to switch between GitHub, where the articles are stored, and sometimes the data itself, the images, between GitHub, between Jupyter Notebooks, between some tools that we provide to preview the articles. And we ask also a lot to the authors because they need to ask this question that is not simple to answer. What will be put in the narrative layer? What will be put in the hermeneutics layer? And this question, the way they are handling the three layers depends a lot on each articles and a lot on how authors see the layers and and ask us how to define the layers, and that usually force the authors to start a lot of thinking about how they will write the article. So the writing of the article is not that simple. And I think I'm at the end of my 7 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation.
May I just add that there will be a book project that is a bit of a spin-off of this project, but in the end, handling books is not books are not at all the same as articles, so it will be quite different.
Thank you. Yes, we learned about it already, and I'm actually quite excited about this. We'll see about how it goes with the book project that you mentioned. But for now, I've just taken a look at the questions in the questions and answers, and I think that if it's possible, Professor Galleron, for you to answer to Monica Kopci, who directly asks you about a catalog that you've mentioned, that would be great. Because the other questions, they are about challenges that I wanted to discuss with you. So my question to you was basically, what institutional, cultural, maybe financial barriers hinder broader recognition of innovative outputs? And as you may see in the questions, well, as I can see in questions and answers, there are similar doubts. There is a doubt about peer review, how actually to gain peer reviews for this type of content, and how to get funding for that. But this is a question to you. What are the barriers, if you can answer from your own experience? That would be great. Maybe let's start from Frédéric, since you were the last one to speak.
May I ask you to repeat just the question, please?
Yes, what are the barriers that hinder broader recognition of innovative research outputs in your experience?
Well, in my experience, it's basically committees who will assess the research of a candidate to position, for instance, and those committees ask for PDFs and PDFs only. So we answer that by basically providing PDFs on authors, and if you go to the page of an article and add .pdf at the end of the URL, you will get the PDF of the article. But that destroys much of the innovative part of the Journal of Digital History. So the main barrier is that you need to drop large parts of what makes your publication innovative. But if you accept that, then you have a PDF, and committees love PDFs.
And if you could also tell us, how is your project funded? Because those questions are also...
It's like it's development for now, it's in-house. It's the budget, it's taken on the budget of the C²DH.
No. And Allison, if you could address the question.
The first question was about peer review, is that correct?
There was a question, like a general one, regarding the barriers that hinder broader recognition of innovative research outputs. And among the questions from our audience, there was a question about peer review as a problem in this type of for this type of research outputs, and also about funding. So I'm just mentioning some of the challenges that appeared in the questions and answers.
Yes, I have to say we're quite pleased to have received recognition from disciplinary organizations, publishing organizations, I would like to see more prizes made available. I think we will start to see that. There's the wonderful newish ACLS Arcadia Foundation book prize, which is a wonderful addition to what's available to authors and publishers. In terms of peer review, yes, it's a challenge because I think it's a learning curve for everyone. So we have experienced, having review. Well, first I should say that we do request that the work be peer reviewed in its digital format. We think that that is the best way for reviewers to comment on ease of navigation, on the integration of text and media, for example, the same way that readers are going to experience it. And sometimes, though, we do have reviewers who are maybe so taken by the novelty of the project that we're not getting as much constructive criticism of the scholarship itself. And so we have gone back to reviewers and asked them to present a more balanced review. But generally, I think that it's just a learning curve. And I think that the more we can share across the community, the types of questions that we're asking reviewers and how we're sharing the material with them, I think we can all learn from that. In terms of funding, yes, we started with Mellon funding. We still do have some Mellon funding, but I'm also happy to say that we've done the hard work of becoming a sustainable program at Brown University. So we have the support, the administrative support at the university. And so this is definitely a challenge. Certainly other programs that started with Mellon funding 10 years ago alongside us have not been able to achieve that. And so I think this is an area where we all have to support sustainability efforts because that is what is going to keep this going, and we all will benefit from that.
Thank you. So the same question to Ioana.
Okay,
What
so
are the barriers?
to me, the main barrier is that we don't know what we are doing right now. It may be a bit provocative what I'm saying, but we are still evaluating what we know to evaluate. There is a know-how that has been built over time about how to evaluate a book, how to evaluate a paper. Right? What are we evaluating when we are evaluating a digital book? For instance, Allison said that some reviewers are so taken by the novelty of the project that they are maybe more favorable. But the real question is, what are we evaluating when we are evaluating a digital output? I know about experimentation that have been done by the RIDE journal. Maybe some of you know about it. It's a German journal that tries to publish reviews about digital editions. They experiment with double evaluation, not in the terms of double-blind review, but having somebody coming from computer studies evaluating the technical part of the edition, and somebody coming from the field, the research field of the edition, to evaluate the novelty of the edition. But beyond that, one of the questions is, you do a digital edition, you make lots of annotation on it. To what extent those annotations are really useful to others? We don't know. We don't have standards. And I will finish with another example, because I have been talking about the controlled vocabularies and ontologies. Over time, especially in historical studies, there are lots of controlled vocabularies, thesauri, that have been built. When you try to pick one of them, which is the best? And how do I assess that this controlled vocabulary is better for what I'm looking to do? For instance, building metadata for a series of papers, correspondence, and everything, rather than another one. What are the standards? What is the good practice in the domain, or simply what are the criteria that I can use to say that this controlled vocabulary is better than the other one? We don't know what we are doing, and it will take lots of experimentations, a lot of dead ends, a lot of discussion amongst us to know, to build to create the standards for the new digital community that is there.
Thank you, Anna. And what is your take on that, Allison and Frédéric? Because the last question that I had actually was how we can make academic system, better for recognizing this kind of outputs. What do we need? So Ioana says that we are in the very beginning of this road. So what is your opinion?
Let's see. I guess I'll start, Frédéric. I think we need more critical attention to the work. So we need more reviews. We need more prize opportunities. We need to see more promotions of faculty. I think yes, I think we need to think of these not as one-off projects. I mean, admittedly, again, we have a very small output, but we believe that what we are producing can serve as models that can be replicated at other institutions. And I think having more people involved, certainly there's no shortage of interest from where I stand. There's no shortage of interest from authors, from the scholars who want to pursue a digital publication. Not every project is right for digital presentation, but those that might be, when they see one of these works, they start thinking very differently about their scholarship. And that's quite wonderful to see. And so seeing more scholars being able to bring their work out, but it requires a lot of people, designers, developers, press editors, production teams. It really takes a lot of people. And I think if we can get more experts involved in this work, I think we will see greater output, and there's more then for us to track, for us to see what's working, what's not working. But I think continuing to take on projects that pose challenges is the only way that we're going to tackle those challenges and make a difference for the authors and above all for the readers.
Thank you. And Frédéric?
Though I agree with Allison and Ioana, I think there is a problem outside of the small community that is developing digital innovative publication. The problem is within our disciplines. If I look at historians, at least in France, in the French-speaking community, there are lots of them who are really proud of the fact that they are still paper-based. But when you look at the details, they are not paper-based at all. They are not paper-based anymore. When you look at the details, when they quote a primary source, for instance, in fact, they are quoting the archive center, the original paper version of the primary sources, but sometimes, even in some cases, most of the time, in fact, they consulted the digital artifacts of this paper primary source. So there is a sort of, I'll be mean and say this sort of hypocrisy within our disciplines that tries to hide the fact that they are now, most of them, very digital. And that's where we need to intervene. That's where we need to convince that we should be openly digital, because it's a question of rigor, of academic rigor, and it's a question of just telling what we are really doing. And that's basically what is at the basis of science. It's telling what you are really doing. It's telling what you are really doing. And once we have succeeded in doing that, which will take still some time, maybe several decades, then digital publications will not be a problem anymore in terms of recognition. They will enter all the evaluation process that we need to go through to get recognition.
Thank you. Yeah, there are a lot of challenges before us. In the Opera's Innovation Lab that I'm part of, we started developing a simple framework for, I mean, not that simple, but a framework for evaluating this type of outputs. And the first thing that we came up with were 10 criteria that we defined for, as Ioana mentioned, for innovative outputs, not only for their content, but also technologies that they are built on and the added value they bring. So it's not a time to speak more about it, definitely. But then this is happening. So with Quara, Dora, and other initiatives that are paying more attention to digital outputs, it is happening. So hopefully sooner or later, innovative research outputs will be getting more and more credit in respective national evaluation systems. But getting back to our questions, because we still have 5 minutes to go, and I feel like there are a lot of them, and we will not be able to answer all of them. But we have a nice one, I guess, that I would like to address. So it's from Lucia C²DH. For all speakers, do you feel that there is a growing demand from scholars to experiment with these innovative publication options? Since these publication services are not yet widely available, that as we learned, in most institutions, how can we find support and opportunities if one's own university is not able to develop such a platform in-house? And the other question could be, what could be done to encourage universities to actually experiment and establish this type of publishing projects? So please.
Go to Daria, go to Europe. I will be as short as that because there are only 5 minutes left. But if you are European based, we have a wonderful infrastructure. We have wonderful infrastructures, and there are Q&A sessions. There is a lot of support for that.
I'll add very quickly, I'm putting a link to the website for our NEH Institute in the chat. We have all of the recordings of our faculty presentations over 2 summers are fully available at no cost. So please explore that website and also get in touch with us at Brown at any time.
Thank you. There is also a question about visibility of open access books. Open access books are not particularly this type of format that we are discussing today, but since most of the digital monographs are open access, could you please address this question? What needs to happen to make open access books discoverable? At minimum for library catalogs. I would say some of them are already, but obviously not enough has been done in this regard.
Yeah, definitely. I think the ball is in the court of the libraries, of the International Consortium for Libraries, to exchange about how to render this book more discoverable.
And I think for us in the US, it's a collaborative effort. With each new publication, we work with our press partner. We try to improve discoverability. We work with our librarians on staff, as well as librarians at the press institutions. It's going to take a lot of expertise from all corners to improve this. It is a challenge, but we hope that we are making progress with every new publication. You know, putting content on Project Muse, for example, has done wonders for discoverability. And of course, I also wanted highlight the incredible work that the marketing teams do at the presses. I know there's the library catalog, that's one mode of discovery, but I think also just in terms of communicating out to specialist and non-specialist readers that the work exists. We're seeing some really creative work done by the marketing teams. We're very grateful for that.
And if I may add to that, of course, the role of the library and of their organization, international organization, is really important. But I will also add an answer that might not please everyone, but partnering with with a good old publishing house can be a solution too, because they have this know-how on this know-how about valorizing all scholarly outputs that are basic work.
Thank you. We have to wrap up since we have 1 minute left. And all I can say from this discussion is that there are a lot of questions, a lot of interest in the innovative research outputs, and especially in digital monographs, which means that probably we would need a couple of more webinars of this kind, focusing on specific problems, like funding, like visibility, and especially peer reviews and evaluation, which we discussed it just like a little bit, and we couldn't go into much detail. But I hope you learned a little bit, and you liked the webinar and the information that you've gained today. I think it's a time to wrap up and finish. So thank you once again all for joining. Thank you. Yes, thank you for Royal Society of Chemistry for supporting our webinar series. And if you are interested in further webinars, just get to ASPA newsletter and join the next events. Thank you. I don't know, Bernie, if you would like to have a few words.
Yes, thanks so much, everyone. Thanks to all of our speakers and to Magdalena for hosting today and putting all the work in advance as well as today. We will endeavour to get any of the open questions. There were so many questions. We'll endeavour to get any of those open questions answered by our speakers, and we will include the Q&A transcript, as it were, with the recording and slides in a few days on our website, and you will receive notification as a registrant to the webinar. So that's all I have to say. There's still quite a few of you here, so we'll just keep the webinar open for another minute in case anybody wants to just quickly read through anything in the chat or the Q&A. Be aware, speakers, that we're still live, but we'll just keep it open silently just for another minute while people leave, and then we'll close the webinar. So thanks so much. Our next webinar will be after the summer break in the autumn. So look, I've shared a link to a way you can all send us your webinar ideas, and I'll add that again when we send out the recording, because we really want to hear from you about what you think we should be covering and what you need to be learning about. So feel free to share your thoughts with us. Thanks, everybody. So we'll see you soon.